chance of winning a PGA Tour major, would I be wrong by saying I want to invest in the no on Scottie Scheffler? And that $100 investment would pay back $213 here. Everybody thinks Scottie's going to win. There's like 100 golfers in those fields each and every week in the majors, the best golfers in the world. I'm going against the grain, Joe. Give me the no on Scottie Scheffler.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done, right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, oh, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Memphis is shopping John Morant. Yeah, no kidding. They should have shopped him 2 years ago and got rid of him. The problem is, where does he go? Like, what team is going to sit there and deal with a dude who, A, has not been healthy or reliable both on the court or off the court? Like, who's trading for John Morant here, Coach?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
If I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Cramer? Buy. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
It's time to rise and grind on a beautiful Friday morning and the madness that's going to ensue this weekend. And some might just think the madness might come from AFC NFC Championship game action. No, it's Snowmageddon moving across the country, which we always like to say. Well, Donnie's going to be right in the midst of it, the bullseye zone. Joe's going to be in his shorts and his T-shirt relaxing down there in Florida. But our goal today is to get you ready for exactly what's going to take place. Huge college basketball slate this weekend. NBA action, topics galore. But of course, it's a football Friday. We don't have too many of those left remaining. It's Donnie Rightside. It's Joe Ranieri. It's the Early Line. It's the SportsGrid Network. And we are ready to go.
Donnie, I feel terrible because I heard about all the snow coming your way and the cold weather. So in honor of all of you, I plan on only playing 18 holes this weekend and not 36. All right? I'm here for
that?
You. Solidarity, brother. Solidarity.
You will be able to walk outside and relax. I don't even know if our front doors will be able to open with the amount of snow that we're expecting to get. But in the meantime, it's time to get those hot topics out here. Let's get caffeinated, Joe. Bring it to us.
All right, Donnie. So in case you missed it this week, college basketball just looked at college football's transfer portal mess and said, hold my beer. Because if you thought the transfer portal was ruining college sports, wait until you hear this. See, the NCAA is officially powerless. And quite honestly, I don't think they care at this point because it's nothing more than a zombie organization. Case in point, Charles Bediako. Remember him? Of course you don't. Well, he played for Alabama basketball back in 2023 for 1 year. He then left for the NBA draft, went undrafted, and signed a professional contract. In fact, he's played for 3 different G League teams since then. He is, by every definition, a professional basketball player. But this week, a state judge in Alabama just granted a temporary restraining order that says Bediako can suit up for the Crimson Tide immediately. Now the NCAA, to their credit, wrote a sternly worded letter and posted it to social media that says something like, hey, you signed a pro contract. You can't come back to college basketball. And the court said, you sure about that? So now Alabama, who is 6 games into SEC play and 50 days away from Selection Sunday, gets to add a 7-foot professional rim protector to their roster. To the roster, by the way, just in time to play Tennessee this week. And the hypocrisy is off the charts. Nate Oates spent over the last 3 months complaining about Baylor adding James Najee. He whined that it hurts high school kids, but the second he realized he could do the same thing, he didn't just open the door, he kicked it down. And folks, this is the end of the amateur model. If a guy can play in the G League for close to 3 years, realize he isn't making the NBA, and then sue his way back into college in late January for the money, what are we doing here? We're stealing scholarships from high school kids to give the second chance pros. The NCAA is begging Congress to step in, but let's be real. The genie is out of the bottle. And this genie is wearing an Alabama jersey. So enjoy the games this weekend, folks, and good luck trying to figure out if the players on the court are students, pros, or plaintiffs. The sport is broken, Donnie. But hey, at least the lawyers are getting paid.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of billable hours out there, Joe. And also, understand this from a Duke Blue Devils perspective as we shift back over to college football. I don't really know it's going to work out in your favor if you force a kid to stay at your school that doesn't want to be there and pay millions. Oof. Man, my ankle hurts this week, coach. Oof, my hamstring hurts this week. Thanks for the money. I'm transferring out here at the end of the year anyway. Good luck. And by the way, this is exactly what the people were hoping for. Chaos, you got it right now. Let's get to the early lineup and let's get started on a Football Friday, which leads us right into our first topic. Jesse Minter, rumored to be the next Ravens head coach here. They went defense, Joe. I was surprised, but now we're hearing offensive coordinator could be Cliff Kingsbury. They could get a dream match right there for the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, another young guy, right? 31 years old, started his career, 9 years ago with the Ravens as a defensive assistant. He knows the Harbaugh brothers obviously very well. He was Jim's defensive coordinator for the Chargers. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think it's they're very familiar with him. They helped, raise him in the coaching ranks and, good luck. Now, hopefully, Baltimore won't go the route and Biscotti won't go a route of just firing the guy if it doesn't work out in 2 or 3 years. And hopefully they'll give him enough time to be able to succeed, because that's the only thing any head coach who gets hired in this cycle can possibly hope for.
It's a good organization. If you keep Lamar Jackson, that should automatically be printing 10-plus wins and a legitimate chance to make it into the playoffs. We'll see if Minter can be that difference maker in Baltimore here. Jim Irsay, the FBI investigating his death now, Joe. He died in Beverly Hills at 65 years old. They said it was cardiac arrest, but now they're digging a little bit deeper. Maybe a doctor helped him out with some pills. He probably shouldn't be happening. Tough scene.
I mean, just getting weirder and weirder by the minute here. I mean, ketamine and pain pills. And listen, we always, we heard the stories there about, he certainly enjoyed his life, enjoyed his money. But I hope they get to the bottom of this sooner rather than later, and this does not drag out.
Mackenzie Gore on his way to the Texas Rangers here was 5-15 last year with a 4.17 ERA, the crafty lefty for Washington, maybe just to change the scenery. And by the way, 5-15 isn't so bad when you figured how bad Washington was last year. Maybe it does work out for the Rangers for him now.
It'd be great to see him on a team that might actually be able to give him some run support and win a few games. And that's exactly what happened here. I mean, it's just, careers go to Washington at this point to go nowhere, and Mackenzie Gore was just far too good for that. So kudos for a great signing there. I think the guy's one of the better lefties in the game.
How about Anthony Davis, his agent going to make the round, said, yeah, I believe my client should be traded to another team at this point. Good luck with that. My goodness.
They can't even reevaluate your client for another 5 weeks. And then you'll decide whether or not he's actually capable of playing a game. Here's my suggestion. Take what you can get when you can get it, because anybody desperate enough to sign Anthony Davis or trade for him, Donnie, I hope it's for nothing more than a ham sandwich, because at this point, you are rolling the dice with him.
I love lawyers here, and we talk about billable hours. Sharon Moore back in court here, and they want everything thrown out as if he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't break into an apartment. He didn't stalk a client here. He didn't have scissors up to his neck and threatening to harm himself. They want everything thrown out. Nothing to see here, people.
Good. Well, good luck with that, because you can't unsee all of that, Donnie. You can't undo all of that. Genie is definitely out of the bottle there. And yeah, but he's he certainly made enough money to be able to give himself a quality defense. We'll see whether or not it works.
By the way, also, the wife still appearing with him in court. Have you no shame, people? My goodness, here. 2026 Winter Olympics, Vaughn, Kim, and Schifrin headline the ski team, looking to make some waves there in the Winter Olympics.
Ooh, making some. Yeah, I am going to be interested this Winter Olympics. Yeah, I am a big curling fan. I don't know if you know that, Donnie.
Yeah, we'll see if that hockey arena holds up here. Will they be falling through the ice once they get their competitions underway? How about Naomi Osaka? Heated exchange with Sorona Cristea. I actually watched this here. She was very upset that Osaka was pumping herself up between the sets here, and eventually got into a couple words here and a feisty little exchange with a commentator to end it there. So Osaka trying to play her way back here. A little feistiness.
Well, listen, we need a little more of that, maybe a few more eyeballs on the sport. If we got that kind of feistiness more often on the tennis court, maybe people would remember that sport is actually being played because most people don't.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Joe, the unrivaled league, the 3-on-3?
Yes.
Ratings we need a little more spiciness in that. Ratings down close to 50% year over year, which you might say isn't good. And then you factor in, Joe, that the new Nielsen ratings has everything up and they're down 50%. How many people are watching? 1, 2, 3? We'll be right back after this short break. We'll just get started. 7% chance of winning a PGA Tour major. Would I be wrong by saying I want to invest in the no on Scotty Scheffler? And that $100 investment would pay back $213 here. Everybody thinks Scotty's going to win. It's like 100 golfers in those fields each and every week in the majors, the best golfers in the world. I'm going against the grain, Joe. Give me the no on Scotty Scheffler.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done, right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Memphis is shopping John Morant. Yeah, no kidding. They should have shopped him 2 years ago and got rid of him. The problem is, where does he go? Like, what team is going to sit there and deal with a dude who, A, has not been healthy or reliable both on the court or off the court? Like, who's trading for John Morant here, Coach?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
If I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Cramer? Buy. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Top spread lines on a Football Friday right here on the Early Line on the SportsGrid Network. It's your boy DRS here with Joe Ranieri. Trying to keep the calm here, Joe. I got some nice tea that I'm drinking here. You know me, I like to be over animated at times, but when you have a race like a marathon that we're going to kick in today, I got to stay even keeled, Joe. Don't get me too excited today. Can you do that? Don't get me too excited.
I think you're doing a great job of being level here, Donnie. That's all we ask here, right? Keeping that voice level as you get ready to shovel for the next 4 days. So, yes, it's important you keep those vocal cords.
Exactly. If I get too excited, that means 1 full hour of Joe Ranieri coming up live right here on the early line. Let's keep it as a team. It's a team concept. Let's keep it as a team concept and get over
Yep.
to those spread lines tonight. In the NBA, the Houston Rockets taking on the Detroit Pistons. You see this number open up around 3 overnight, Joe. Now we're seeing 4.5, even 5 starting to creep into the marketplace. The Houston Rockets played the Sixers last night into overtime, now headed back out on the road to take on the Pistons, and a total at 217.5. Rockets Pistons, Joe. What's your spread line for this game tonight?
Well, that was the interesting thing, right? Because it was, Donnie, in that spot, about 3.5. But the minute that game went to overtime, boy, you started to see the money overnight coming in on the Pistons. And listen, I mean, they're pretty good. They just won a road game without their best player on Wednesday. And now they are home to face, obviously, a much tougher opponent in Houston. But second of a back-to-back, these are tricky spots. Especially for a team that just came out of overtime. So it's not a shock that the money is coming in overnight on Detroit, but as in always with the NBA, Donnie, really important to know who exactly is playing for who. And this is one of the lower totals on the board here tonight as well. It's what, 217, Donnie?
Yeah.
Somewhere in that ballpark, 216.5. Yeah, know who's playing for the Rockets here tonight for sure.
Phoenix Suns taking on the Atlanta Hawks tonight. This line opened up as a 2.5-point favorite for the Phoenix Suns here. The total listed at 233.5. Suns Hawks here from A-Town.
Yeah, well, I tell you, the Suns are now whole, right? They got Jalen Green back finally. They've been waiting for him with he only played a handful of games, not before he pulled his hamstring back in November. But boy, oh boy, the Suns may be the most surprising team in the NBA this year, sitting at 27-17 here. Meanwhile, the Atlanta Hawks are a team that they might have finally figured some things out. Big win on the road against Memphis. They played Monday early against Milwaukee and came back from 23 points in the first half down to almost winning that game. It feels like the Trae Young era is almost officially gone here, and these new players with Jalen Johnson putting it together. But that's not going to stop the market from loving what they're seeing from the Phoenix Suns, and maybe a little too much love here at this point.
Ohio State taking on Michigan. Typically, we see that in the NCAA football. Now we're going to see on the hardwood tonight a 15.5-point favorite for Michigan at home. And if you didn't know, take a look at Ken Palm's numbers. The second most efficient team on defense is Michigan in the country. Top 5 in adjusted efficiency on offense is Michigan. Are we headed for a blowout today? Michigan versus Ohio State.
Well, you would think, Donnie, right? I mean, listen, Michigan has been going scorched earth, but it's still a rivalry, right? But Michigan has also been the nation's best team for a majority of this season. But don't forget, the Wolverines, if you go over the last couple of weeks here, Donnie, they're so overvalued in the market that, yeah, they may be winning games, but they certainly aren't covering, which is crazy. I mean, Michigan at one point won like 20 or more points in every game. They went 8-1 against the number when they started out, but it's 5 straight games in which they have not covered these ridiculous games. And again, Ohio State, like them, hate them, but they are going to bring it tonight against Michigan. This is their national championship game in basketball. So expect it to be a physical game, but at this point, you can't lay these kinds of numbers in a rivalry spot.
AFC Championship game on Sunday, 3 p.m. start. That's going to be Drake May taking on Jared Stidham. We previewed this line all week long, bouncing between 5.5s and 4.5s. And now it seems like we've settled in to minus 4.5 as a favorite for the New England Patriots. A total that's listed at 42.5. Stidham getting those practices in. Everybody loves how good Stidham looks in practice. But the question is, will he perform the same way in the games here, Joe? What's that spread line for Sunday's action in the AFC?
Well, once again, Donnie, we saw the limits increase yesterday across the board, and that's how it works. Earlier in the week, limits are down. Later in the week, it gives the books a chance to kind of adjust the numbers, and then here come all the big bets. Not exactly sharp bets, but the big bets are going to start to roll in. Now, is it enough to push these lines one way or the other? It remains, Donnie, that the biggest bets, the most influential bets that I am hearing are on the total in this game. At 42.5, there are some prevailing thoughts here that this might even hit 43, provided
nothing drastic changes with the weather outside of what we've been saying. It looks like it's going to get colder, but no snow, no crazy wind, nothing along those lines. And it feels like they think points, the market, or at least the influential bettors believe points are coming in this game from both teams.
Yeah, latest report there on the weather, about 20 degrees during that game. Also, no precipitation in the forecast, and light winds under 10 miles per hour. Should be a pretty clean slate there out in Denver. Let's head to the Pacific Northwest. The Los Angeles Rams taking on the Seattle Seahawks. This line opened up at 2.5, Joe. All week long, we still see 2.5s all the way through with just about every outlet today, and a total of 46.5. Stafford versus Darnold, NFC Championship game. The winner heads to the Super Bowl to take on either the Patriots or the Broncos. What's your spread line for this Sunday's action for the NFC?
Well, we've seen some back and forth here, kind of stale on both, Donnie, right? But the prevailing thought in the risk rooms, once again, is what you see is likely what you're going to get. Don't expect it to hit 3. Don't expect it to land 3 by kickoff. If anything, they feel like there is going to be some late Rams money coming into this game, depending on the reports for Sam Darnold. So keep an eye on that. But right now, if you're hoping for a 3, you're likely not going to get it.
Wednesday's practice for Darnold, limited practice. Thursday's practice for Darnold, limited practice. Today's that last practice of the week where a lot of these guys get cleared and get taken off the practice report. We'll see if that happens, but you're right about that. If he's still limited today, where it's like, you know what, something might rise up there, and you never know, because you could be throwing lightly all weekend long, Joe. Once you get in a football game, football player hanging on your ankle, and you got to launch one 40 yards downfield. We'll see what that oblique is really about here. It's a Football Friday. We're just getting started right here on the early line. Make sure you keep it with us. Joe and Donnie in the morning. We'll be right back. 7% chance of winning a PGA Tour major. Would I be wrong by saying I want to invest in the no on Scotty Scheffler? And that $100 investment would pay back $213 here. Everybody thinks Scotty's going to win. It's like 100 golfers in those fields each and every week in the majors, the best golfers in the world. I'm going against the grain, Joe. Give me the no on Scotty Scheffler.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done, right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, oh, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Memphis is shopping John Morant. Yeah, no kidding. They should have shopped him 2 years ago and got rid of him. The problem is, where does he go? Like, what team is going to sit there and deal with a dude who, A, has not been healthy or reliable both on the court or off the court? Like, who's trading for John Morant here, Coach?
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
If I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Cramer? Buy. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Let's dip right back into that AFC Championship game. It's going to take place this Sunday at 3 p.m. in Denver. As we just told you, weather is going to be cold, but that's Denver this time of year. 20 degrees here, no precipitation. You love to see that. And also, keep the winds under 10 miles per hour. Both of these quarterbacks shouldn't have any problems operating in the pocket. The only question is, Drake May, we expect to have a good game. We just don't know what we're getting out of Jarrett Stidham at this point. So, Joe, with the practice reports that we hear from Denver, and they're obviously glowing praise of Stidham because no teammate's going to say, like, man, we just lost Bo Nix. I don't think we should even play this weekend. Why are we wasting our time? What do you feel? Have you gained any, opportunities, or should I say any insight into what we're going to get out of Jarrett Stidham, as if you can back him this weekend and be comfortable with it?
You are going to get you're just going to get a more condensed version of what you might have seen from Bo Nix. I mean, listen, you have to understand and believe that Sean Payton has kept Jarrett Stidham there for a reason. Again, he wasn't just dropped in last week here, right? This is not one of these situations like Indianapolis where they're getting a guy off a high school, coaching a high school team to come out and play. That's not what we've got here. So he understands the playbook. He understands what is expected. And it's going to be up to the rest of the team to go ahead and level up their game here. And I think they know that. And nobody's better at it than what Sean Payton brings to the table. I think the game plan is the same. I don't think they're going to be limited in what they can do. Again, it's everything. It's all or nothing, right? So I would expect Sean Payton to pull out all the stops and likely, again, quick passes, short passes, move the chains, see if you can get the running game going. But that offensive line needs to protect them, and it's one of the best in the NFL this year. So if you're expecting the offensive line to collapse like it did for Houston, that is not going to happen against this Patriots defense for the Broncos.
Take a look at Troy Franklin, hamstring injury. He did get limited practices on Wednesday and Thursday. And then also Pat Brown had the concussion, limited on Wednesday, full practice on Thursday. So maybe getting some of those wide receivers back to help out Jarrett Stidham. Here's an interesting part, Joe. Betting last week with the Denver Broncos, I really like Bo Nix's completion number. It was 20.5. So you say, okay, that means, 21 completions cashes. He actually cashed it, I believe, on one of the second to last drives last week. But typically you see him throw 35 plus times per game because that's a Sean Payton offense. Do you know the game plan isn't going to change all that much, Joe? I take a look at FanDuel right now. Pass completions for Jarrett Stidham, 19.5. That's completions. That's not actually attempts here, which means he's only one behind Bo Nix, who's the starter from last week. So the intentions to detail here is we are expecting the same sort of game plan with Stidham, because otherwise, Joe, we'd see that at 17.5, 16.5, 15.5. And also the 198.5 price point here for the player prop yards for Stidham to throw over. It's 198.5 when earlier this week, Joe, we were hovering around that 190 number. People are starting to gain some interest in Jarrett Stidham based on some of those practice reports.
Well, I think it has everything to do with the offensive line, Donnie, because I think the market realizes they're not a great running team, right? But they are a fantastic, one of the best, if not the best, pass blocking units in the NFL, which means Stidham is not going to be under duress. They can try and blitz all they want. All that is going to do, because, again, Stidham is not a rookie. Stidham has been around the block. He has started his fair share of games in the NFL. As long as you give a quarterback protection, they are going to throw the ball. And Sean Payton is not going to try to ask the guys to be something they're not. They're not a great running team. They're a very good scheme and throwing team, and that's exactly what they're going to do here.
What do you think about Drake May in this game here, Joe? You take a look at his posted prop number, 226.5. Struggled last week with fumbles, turnovers here, but still able to win that football game because C.J. Stroud out-turnovered them at that point here. Do you have any worries about Drake May? Still a young quarterback, second year on the road in the AFC Championship game. The expectations is he should play well, but this is an environment he hasn't seen before.
Well, and now the expectations went from, it's a growing year to now he has to win the AFC on the road in one of the, if not the toughest environments in all of football to go and win. I mean, it's one thing to win a game against an awful offense like Houston at home in the weather, right? But boy, oh boy, it's going to be a whole different animal to go to Denver and do this on the road with all the pressure on you. Everybody expects you to win now, and that is a different animal, Donnie, than what we're used to. He'll make plays, but he'll also likely make a few mistakes that might cost him the game.
By the way, the double up here on touchdown props. Ramondre Stevenson plus 120, Travion Henderson plus 230. Get at least one of those guys for plus money, and we cheer on Travion Henderson. Any quick looks, Joe, for you and that touchdown market in this game?
You got to love, listen, Henderson's ran good. Stevenson's run absolutely fantastic. You got to love R.J. Harvey, too, simply because of the way he can catch the ball out of the backfield.
Let's flip it over to the NFC. Is Sam Darnold going to be up for the fight that's going to be needed to win that game to get to the Super Bowl? We'll talk about it next.
What is going on with this John Morant saga? Right? Joe's on the block. Joe wants to be traded. But now Joe comes back and he denies all trade talk and says John says he has no desire to play elsewhere. So he shut it down. He's still viewed as a franchise centerpiece when on the floor. Memphis, they're better with him.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. I say, well, why? Wait a second here. He's head coach of the New York Giants. But did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clay Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there.
Yeah.
To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No.
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
That's
either.
fine that you believe that. But here's the thing.
There's more. Hold on a second.
Hang on, go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
It is a Football Friday on the Early Line SportsGrid Network. And you know what? Like, I am jumping for joy right now. You might not be able to tell it from my voice because if I go any higher octaves here, we won't be on the air for much longer at this point. So I'm saying tame at this point, but I love AFC NFC Championship weekend and specifically this game between the Rams and the Seahawks. There are so many angles to play that we can certainly jump into, but I'm going to start here with you, Joe. I love playing this game because the odds makers have been telling you this is a line they don't really want to move to 2 or 3 at this point. We sit here on a Friday between the Rams and the Seahawks at 2.5 across the board. In your best judgment, Joe, by the time we get to kickoff, 6:30 p.m. Sunday night to watch this game, where is this line? Is it 2? Is it 2.5? Is it 3? What are we thinking?
I still think I think what you see is what you're going to get ultimately. I don't think it's going to go the other way, Donnie. You're never going to get 3. It's not going to land. It's not going to be steamed all the way up to 3.5 and then land 3 or anything along those lines. I think what you see is what you're going to get. If anything, we might see some late Ram money come in, depending on who sees something at maybe these practices over the next couple of days, or if there's any questions, rumors, or comments about truly how healthy is Sam Darnold. I think that's what's going to determine. But all things being equal, I think the number that you have right now is based upon everyone thinking Sam Darnold is fine and that he can make the throws and everything will be good. But any, and I mean any news, Donnie, that's contrary to that will move this line towards the Rams. I don't think it's ever going to move it closer to the 3 or above 3.
Let me play psychologist with you, Joe, because I need you to help out the people, because we're going to post up this next little graphic here about Sam Darnold. ESPN Bet put this out, and it said Sam Darnold is feeling confident ahead of the NFC Championship game. And Sam Darnold's quote is interesting here. If I feel like a guy is open, I'm going to let it rip. Do you know what that sounds like to me? Well, I sort of trust myself, and if he's open, I'm going to give it a try. This is like I'm just trying to read between the lines, Joe, because I don't think we're getting the full story here just yet. They're trying to put on a big happy face like everything is fine, but everything I'm trying to read between the lines is telling me that this is up in the air still.
I listen, it's regardless of whether he was healthy or not, Donnie. He's played 2 games against the Rams. He's got 6 interceptions in those games. Okay, so whether he's healthy or he's not healthy, this Rams defense and the way they have schemed against him has caused him nothing but fits here. And again, he's played them 4 times in his career. Once last year in the postseason in the wild card, right, when he was with Minnesota. And guess what? Yeah, he threw a whole bunch of interceptions there, was sacked 5 times, and he lost that game. Was traded to Seattle, played them twice. He's 1-3 against this Rams team. This defense has not been kind to him. That's not going to change in this game. So if I'm him, I'm a little cautious as well. And listen, the idea was McDonald and company there, after those Rams games, they kind of reeled him in a little bit because you're either going to win with a conservative Sam Darnold or you run the risk against better teams like the Rams of getting blown out because Sam Darnold puts you in that spot.
Yeah, we take a look at the weather conditions. Again, low 40s, which is fine. Yep. No precipitation in the forecast. And again, 1 mile per hour winds here. So nothing that's going to be able to keep up and say, hey, I got to throw, 25 mile an hour winds. I got to really torque it up at this point here. But I'm still worried about Darnold. Last week, we saw his passing prop number crash by game time. Now, you might want to say it's a little bit unfair because they blew San Francisco out from the jump. So there's no reason for Darnold to go out there and throw it 35 times. In this game against the Rams, I don't know if you're going to be able to hide behind, let's run the football and play really good defense. And maybe you can because Seattle's really good and they have a home field advantage. But I look at that Sam Darnold 235.5 passing prop number, Joe, and I say to myself, I still lean towards the under. Like, yes, there's a chance that he can really get it going. It's going to be fine and throw 40 times. But I don't think that's the game plan heading into say, let's just get into a shootout with, Los Angeles when my quarterback just might be a little bit banged up.
Well, it's 2 different things here, right? Matt Stafford is a guy with a ring on his finger. And even at 36, 37 years old, this is a guy who still has a monster arm. And Donnie, how many more times does he have to show how fearless he is, throwing to every part of the field? He's got a championship pedigree, and he doesn't care what the situation. He is never, ever going to doubt his ability to be able to make the play. And we shouldn't, as bettors and fans, look at, hey, Stafford would never sound like that. Like if a play needs to in a big game, you can count on Stafford. There is nothing in Sam Darnold's history that tells us that he is exactly the same quarterback as Stafford, that he can be trusted to make that big throw in the big moment when the game no, he has not done it. And until he does, you should be cautious when looking to back him or what you're expecting from him. They only win this game one way, Donnie. They have to be able to control time of possession, and they have to be able, with Kenneth Walker, to be able to run the ball down the throat of the Rams defense. I don't know that they can do that.
By the way, put that graphic back up for Matthew Stafford here because we're going to see something on that we haven't seen in months. See the passing yards, 253.5. Yeah, we've seen higher than that. But look at the touchdown number, Joe. 1.5 to the overs, minus 128. That number has been 2.5 for the past 2 months where you couldn't even bet it. There was no value whatsoever. It shows you how really good Seattle's defense actually is, number one. But number two, they're going to be throwing that football all over the place. This is one of those opportunities where you finally get Stafford at a decent price to throw 2 touchdown passes. Certainly something to keep an eye on. But obviously, throwing those passes between both of these quarterbacks, somebody has to catch those. The 2 top guys, Puka Nacua, 91.5 as his yardage prop, and Jackson Smith-Njigba, 89.5 as his yardage prop in this game. We talked about it yesterday, Joe. The top pass catchers, maybe some secondary options. Who are you looking for to maybe really put a dent in this game from the wide receiver position?
Well, it's interesting, right? Because we saw JSN's numbers over 90, like 91.5, 92, and it looks like we're starting to see a little bit of maybe he's not going to have as big a game here as we thought. And listen, half the season, the first half of the year, Donnie, nobody could cover them. They were slinging it all over the place. And then the second half of the year, defenses adjusted to what they wanted to do. They took away Jackson Smith-Njigba deep, right? You couldn't get those big explosive plays. So everything became kind of dink and dunk, 5-yard, 7-yard outs. And, You weren't going to lose because him and Darnold were beating you over the top. The Rams have already seen him twice. He's not going to do that here again. So I understand why the money is coming in on the under on his yardage prop, and I agree with it. But he is going to play a role in this game if Seattle wins one way or the other.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp listed at 29.5. You see Shaheed at 23.5. AJ Barner at 28.5. So some secondary option that you can certainly dip into. And also, depending on game flow, are they losing this game? Are they winning this game? Is the defense taking over? Are the pick sixes happen where you actually lose a possession on offense? That certainly could all factor in. Let's look at some of those touchdown props in this game because it isn't a surprise now. You probably should just go with Kenneth Walker III. It is expensive at minus 155. But what did you used to have to worry about, Joe? Hey, maybe it's Charbonnet's drive. Maybe Charbonnet's going to get the ball on the goal line. It's only going to be Kenneth Walker III inside that 5-yard line and on the goal line. The other plus money guy is the next plus money guy, I should say, is Jackson Smith and Jigba plus 105 for Seattle. And then 3 straight Rams, Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams, and Puka Nacua. Even if you said to yourself, I think Stafford throws 2 touchdowns, probably going to get at least 1 from Adams and 1 from Nacua. Maybe a double up makes some sense there. Who are you looking forward to this weekend to score a touchdown in this NFC Championship game?
Oh, it's easy for me, Donnie. Who else? Cooper Kupp. The revenge game. It would, you can't write revenge a better story than Cooper Kupp. And again, if his arm is what we think it is, man, those underneath routes and those short, quick hit, he is going to be a red zone target. Make no mistake about it. So, at a pretty good price, why not? Cooper Kupp scoring for Seattle would be outstanding.
I'd say what's going to be interesting, too, you look at some of those rushing props in this game because Seattle's got a great defense, pass-wise and also stopping the run. Kyron Williams, 53.5, Blake Corum, 28.5. But again, Kenneth Walker III, 85.5. Ooh, that sounds like a lot. You could pencil him in for 20 carries and do what you need to do after that. So a lot of things open here, but we're certainly going to keep you updated throughout the show. If any one of these lines change or any information comes out, certainly we're going to let you know. But that's AFC Championship, NFC Championship weekend. Can't wait for it on Sunday. We're going to talk to our guy, Tom Vecchio, to see what he has to say about these 2 interesting games this weekend. We'll be right back on the early line right here on the SportsGrid.
What is going on with this John Morant saga, right? Joe's on the block. Joe wants to be traded. But now Joe comes back and he denies all trade talk and says John says he has no desire to play elsewhere. So he shut it down. He's still viewed as a franchise centerpiece when on the floor. Memphis, they're better with him.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. I say, well, why? Wait a second here. He's the head coach of the New York Giants. Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clay Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there. To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No.
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
That's
either.
fine that you believe that. But here's the thing. There's
more. Hold on a second.
Hang on, go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
It's a Football Friday right here on the Sports Grid Network. No better place to be. This is the early line. It's Donnie Right Side. It's Joe Ranieri. Now we're bringing our good friend Tom Vecchio to talk about this weekend's action here. Tom, 2 football games, compelling angles in both of these, man. How we feeling?
I'm feeling good. We've seen a little bit of line movement in these games, the totals moving around. I'm really interested for some RJ Harvey props, and I haven't seen too many of them listed. Rushing plus receiving is what I'm waiting for. J.K. Dobbins is practicing. Whether or not he'll be activated is yet to be seen, but keep my eye on RJ Harvey.
All right, let's get started here first, Tom. Jarrett Stidham's going to get the start. Obviously, we know Bo Nix down for the year, broken ankle. Let me ask you this question. Last week, I did take a prop on Bo Nix, which I was just talking to Joe about, over 20.5 completions, which he got last week in their game. Now, before he got injured. So now you look and say, well, how are we supposed to run the same offense with Jarrett Stidham? But, Tom, I go over to FanDuel and I see 19.5 completions as a number for Stidham. We're not expecting a drop-off here, and the passing prop is actually going a little bit higher this week, up to 198.5. Just give me your vibes on what we can anticipate that we're going to get from Jarrett Stidham this weekend.
2 things I would say. One, if they do fall behind, they're going to be an obvious passing situation, so he may get there. It won't be pretty, but he'll get there. And then 2, it really comes down to Sean Payton, who we know can scheme things up for a quarterback to be successful. Again, it may not be the flashiest plays, but they may just be plays designed to say, hey, let's be in 2nd and 5 and 3rd and 4 instead of 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 9, and then we'll just move the chains that way, and they may be dink and dunk passes. So that's partly why I'm looking at RJ Harvey, but the success that Sean Payton has with quarterbacks, I think, is playing a little bit of a part in this.
Well, also the offensive line is it's one of the best in the NFL protecting pass rush. So they're not going to get to Stidham, which means, and of the 2 quarterbacks in this game, Tom, one has been there and done this before. Maybe not in an AFC Championship game, but he's been under center in these spots here before. And this is all, it's one thing to be the hunter, right? And nobody expects anything from you. But now, look at line for this game was 1.5 for Denver. They were going to be the favorite. Now Drake May is expected to win this game and win it convincingly. So what do we get from him in this game?
What we get from him, I would say, is going to be solely determined by the offensive line, because over the past 2 weeks, Drake May hasn't looked great, right? He's made some good throws, like he's made good plays, but the sacks and the fumbles are a huge concern. And, my prevailing sentiment for this game is that the Denver defense know that they need to be at their best. They can't play like they played last week. And if Drake May is having the sacks and the fumble issues as he's had against the Chargers and the Texans, I have to assume if he's done or he's been doing that, the Denver defense can do much of the same, if not more. So if they can get the pressure on Drake May, that gives a path to Denver at keeping this close and or winning the game. So the offensive line for the Pats and Drake May, I think they're the most important factor in this entire game.
Yeah, keeping us on our toes this weekend, too. The one thing we don't like as handicappers is have some extenuating circumstances. We don't know what we're going to get out of Jarrett Stidham. And the same thing now as we flip it over to the NFC Championship game. Matthew Stafford versus Sam Darnold. What are we getting out of Sam Darnold? They're saying everything positive in Seattle, Tom. But when I look at those practice reports, I see limited on Wednesday, limited on Thursday, and some question of, like, we were just talking about a quote came up. Darnold's like, yeah, if I see a guy open, I think I can let it rip. Well, that just shows you're not even fully confident that you can let it rip if you have to answer questions like that. This line sits at 2.5. But again, same thing I asked you on Stidham. What are we getting out of Sam Darnold, and should we be worried?
I think we should be worried. And last week, looking at his stat line in really conjunction with Ken Walker's stat line, I think that is like the upper end of the outcome on the bell curve. Like Ken Walker, we know that Sam Darnold's not fully healthy. They're at home. The game gets out of hand. So he's seeing extra carries based on the game script. And then ultimately he's going up against a defense that is bad to begin with the 49ers. And ultimately they quit on the game. So all these things are magnified by the time that he's able to get 3 touchdowns, over 100 yards, all these carries. We can't be expecting that from him again. I think Sam Darnold obviously needs to be better than what he was last week. But if we see a lack of success from Sam Darnold in the passing game, I'm worried about their offense moving. I'm worried about them potentially keeping up with the Rams. If the Rams are able to get to 17, 21 points, we know that the Rams defense will also be at their best in this game, and they can maybe keep the Seahawks under control. This will not be a shootout as we saw like a month ago on that Thursday night game.
Well, it feels like the way Seattle has to win this game is very much like what they just did with the 49ers, right?
You can't ask Sam Darnold to have to throw for 300 yards and expect to win this game. 2 games, he's got 6 picks already against this Rams defense. So who do you concentrate on, though, if you're Seattle? Because their path to winning feels pretty straightforward here, no?
It does. And, Ken Walker's prop has been bet up and up and up, and it's in the mid-80s at this point for his yards. I think that's a little bit much. I know people are going to be looking at it. They're going to say, oh, also Zach Charbonnet's out. So Ken Walker's coming off a great game. Zach Charbonnet's out. Sam Darnold's not fully healthy. Let's just give the ball to Ken Walker 25 times. And listen, they may do that, and he may get there, but I still think that such a public number is not worth backing at this point. Frankly, looking at Sam Darnold, his pass attempts under 29 and a half, that's where I have the most interest, just because they don't want him to throw that much, to your point, Joe. Like, they don't want to have the ball in his hands 35 times. And if they do, if he's throwing it 35 times, A, this game's probably going over, and B, the Rams are probably leading at that point.
I got to tell you, too, Tom, like we do a lot of shows on Sundays here, and you never really hear me say Matthew Stafford all that much because his touchdown prop is always 2.5. He's now back at 1.5 at a minus 132 price, which I do think is interesting. But I want to ask you some receiving questions in this game. Puka Nacua, Jackson Smith-Njigba, the top-level guys. Give me a guy outside of those top guys, Tom, you might be eyeing up this weekend. A Cooper Kupp, a Shaheed, maybe a Parkinson. I know you like to go after there for the Rams. Who are you looking at for those secondary shots?
It would be A.J. Barner on Seattle. And, a lot of people want to buy into Cooper Kupp, a little bit of revenge. And you can make the same case for him as I'm doing for Barner. But these are players that have, generally low A-dots, where JSN has one of the highest yards per route run this season, really, of any receiver, dating back over the last decade. But if Darnold's having an oblique issue, why not just take the easy completions where you can get them? Don't be stretching the ball downfield. Get it to Barner or Kupp down low on low A-dot passes. And, yeah, he may need 3 or 4 to get to 28 or 29, but those are the players I would side with.
All right, Tom, quick on this one here. Ferguson, Higbee, Parkinson. Come on now. Which one? Who gets the gas?
Give me Parkinson.
Yeah,
he's always reliable there. I can't wait for these 2 games to play out here on Sunday. 3 o'clock game, 6:30 game, close numbers, and then pretty soon on Monday morning, we'll be talking about matchups in the Super Bowl. Isn't that crazy? That's Tom Vecchio. Thanks for rising and grinding with us on a Football Friday radio on the early line. For myself, on the right side, Joe Ranieri. We'll be right back after this short break. .7% chance of winning a PGA Tour major. Would I be wrong by saying I want to invest in the no on Scotty Scheffler? And that $100 investment would pay back $213 here. Everybody thinks Scotty's going to win. It's like 100 golfers in those fields each and every week, and the majors, the best golfers in the world. I'm going against the grain, Joe. Give me the no on Scotty Scheffler.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done, right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Memphis is shopping John Morant. Yeah, no kidding. They should have shopped him 2 years ago and got rid of him. The problem is, where does he go? Like, what team is going to sit there and deal with a dude who, A, has not been healthy or reliable both on the court or off the court? Like, who's trading for John Morant here, Coach?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
If I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Cramer? Buy. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Oh, we love some college basketball. Come on now. We're in the final days of January before we head off into February, which means closer and closer to March Madness. Ohio State and Michigan are going to lace them up tonight at 8 p.m. This game's going to take place in Michigan, and a heavy, heavy favorite for the Michigan Wolverines. Overnight line, Joe, as high as minus 15.5. We're now seeing 14.5 at most outlets right now, in a total of 163.5, up from around 161.5 overnight. Michigan, Ohio State. Michigan, great defense, great offense. This looks like a blowout on paper. Can Ohio State at least hang around to make a game and possibly cover?
Well, again, we mentioned earlier, Donnie, in the spread lines, how they are so overvalued, Michigan, because they started out the season winning every game by more than 20 points. In fact, I think they started out the season 8-1 against the spread. But like anything else in the market, it gets so overvalued that the only way to make any money is to bet against them. And that's why they have not covered a game in 5 straight here. Now, they have won its last 3 games by double digits, but that hasn't been good enough to cover these 15, 16, 17, 18-point spreads that they're always rolling. On paper, it's a mismatch. Michigan is going to dominate the paint. They are going to dominate at the free throw line. Everything that Ohio State does wells, guys like Bruce Thornton and John Mobley Jr., they're going to be taken out of this game. The sheer physicality and size of Michigan is it's going to be too much. Now, does that mean Michigan's going to take their foot off the gas here? Probably not. If they have a chance to bury Ohio State in any game, they're going to do it here. It feels like this could be the one they go back to old school, winning by 20 or more points, and could be a long night for Ohio State.
Weekend hoops shows. A lot of this country is going to be buried by snow. You can sit back, relax, and watch a game like the ACC is going to have North Carolina taking on Virginia. Virginia's the home team here. John Paul Jones Arena, minus 6.5 as a favorite in a total of 149.5. Virginia, top 20 in defense on efficiency, top 20 on offense in efficiency. And the home team here, North Carolina, ups and downs this season in the ACC. Joe, what do you see tomorrow at noon?
Well, in Virginia, and of course, always another great rivalry over the history, right? Big win by North Carolina. It was not good for them on that West Coast trip, but they came home, they got a beat-up Notre Dame team, and they handled business. Meanwhile, the Cavs are 5-1 in the ACC, 16-2 overall. And yeah, by the way, they're honoring former coach Tony Bennett there before this game, before the Carolina game. And of course, the history of him, 346 and 136 in 15 seasons at Virginia. He is a god on that campus. So it is going to be an electric atmosphere. To me, this is all about the Cavs. Can they knock down threes? They've knocked down 190 of them this season. They're a 37% three-point shooting team. If the Cavs are hitting threes, North Carolina, thanks for stopping by, but not going to get it done here.
How about this game tomorrow? Illinois versus Purdue, Joe. A 3 o'clock start at Purdue, West Lafayette, Mackey Arena. This line currently sits at minus 2.5 as a favorite for Purdue, and a total of 150.5. You want offense? You want good offense? You have it here, Joe. The number 1 most efficient team on offense in college basketball, that's Illinois. You know who's number 3? It's Purdue. 2 sensational offenses, Joe, going toe-to-toe, Illinois and Purdue tomorrow.
Yeah, Illinois injured a little bit. The number 2 scorer we told you there, Donnie, ends up breaking his wrist in practice last week. It was kind of absolutely crazy, but it hasn't stopped them from just bulldozing anybody and everybody. In the meantime, Purdue coming off a grueling West Coast shot there, Donnie, in which they had to play, I think, 4 games in like a 10-day stretch. It was absolutely rough. Can they get back on track? Listen, Mackey Arena, still in college basketball, Donnie, outside of Rupp Arena, one of the hardest places to win a game for a road team. This is going to be an over battle. I can see both these teams lighting up the scoreboard. I think the total's a little low at 150.5, and that's the way I would look at it.
Let's head down to Texas Tech tomorrow. 2 p.m. start. Houston's going to take on Texas Tech. The favorite in this game, the road team, Houston, minus 3.5 and a total of 139.5. You take a look at both of these defenses. Absolute legitimate Big 12 basketball at its finest. What are we looking at in this game between Houston and Texas Tech, Joe?
Well, listen, the Red Raiders have been phenomenal ever since, well, that close loss to Houston in Houston over 2 weeks ago. And now they'll have a chance. After that game, by the way, they've ripped off 4 straight back-to-back wins against BYU and Baylor. I don't know if I'm stepping in front of this Texas Tech train.
Big Saturday in college basketball. Coming up next. Football Friday. Place to be right here on the SportsGrid Network.